Is getting revenge ever worth it? Tell me your revenge stories. I knew a kid who was an absolute terror. He would just be a big dig for the sake of being a big dig. One day my friends and I are at the park playing football and this kid ran up to us with a paintball gun and shot us all up at the park. Now we have paintball guns too, so if we wanted to shoot him up we could, but we knew it wasn't enough. This time this kid went too far. Since he lives near us, we know his family quite well and know that his mom is crazy, controlling and mean as hell. We also knew for a fact that he did not have a paintball gun before, so he must have finally convinced his mom that he would be responsible with it, and she finally allowed him to buy one. Well, we took all our paintball guns and shot up every house on his block except for his. His house is within viewing distance of the park where play football, so we all got to watch and laugh as his dad was outside slamming his gum against the street and apologizing to the neighbors. He was crying like a baby and it was glorious. I know this sounds mean, but if you knew this kid you would know how badly he deserved it. He broke my go-kart once. Chicken HS broke into my locker and burned $150 worth of books that I had to pay for. Found out she did it and patiently waited for the day she came into the restaurant I worked at. I took her order personally, even though I was the busboy. Club sandwich. Yum. I put my gonads on that sandwich, slathering my scrotum stank deep into the nooks and crannies of the toasted bread. Some urine even dropped onto the roast beef. I served her meal and chatted with her all friendly like while she ate every bit. The next day, I told the whole school. They dubbed her nut sandwich for the rest of the year. Edit. Someone addressed the question of why she would break into my locker and steal my things. Well, here it is. She found out I liked her. I had a crush on this girl, and she decided the best way to turn me down was to burn my books in a bonfire. We were really good friends before she did this, and it was totally out of the blue. I feel my revenge was justified. Hey, at least it wasn't grape. Well, here's my favorite one. In 4th grade, during indoor recess, I unlocked my teacher's desk and another group of students went through her desk. A girl ratted me out and I got a week of detention. Sadness for me. 3 years later, this person ended up in front of me in one of my classes and I noticed she would cheat on her tests by leaving a study sheet just on the floor. After class one day, I went to the teacher and explained that wink winky should watch for people cheating extra carefully next time we had a test. Sure enough, next time out, he found her study sheet just laying there and she started crying and whatnot. That was my Count of Monte Cristo moment. As much as I agree that moving on and living happy life is a good idea, I had a bit of revenge on my ex-wife. She left me for her ex-boyfriend that she had led us all to believe had died a year earlier. Full stop. She asked me to send her some things to Emo from here in ID, including her wedding dress. I sent it and everything else she asked for, all in Ziploc baggies. Ashes weigh a lot less than actual clothing and stuff. It was a grand bonfire. We even took pictures and enclosed them to prove what we were sending. Haven't spoken with her since. And now I'm super happily married to a woman that is not crazy a nutso. On anything substantial I agree with you. That said, I had a roommate years ago who would constantly steal from me, lie about it and then threaten me when I asked about it. So the day before I moved out, I stuffed half a dozen frozen jumbo prawns inside his couch, zipped up the cushions and left without a forwarding address. I bet he had a great summer. That was 6 years ago and I still feel like it was a good choice. My college girlfriend came into a substantial inheritance and dumped me because she didn't see any financial potential in me and didn't want me coming near that money she just received. About 5 years later, we ran into each other. For reasons beyond the scope of this story, I happened to have over $4,000 cash in my wallet. She came up to say hi and tried to chit chat with me. I cut her off, took a $100 bill out of my wallet, crumpled it up, threw it at her, and said, "Hey, great to see you, but I don't have time for small talk. Here, go get yourself some lunch." The look on her face made that the best $100 I ever spent. I speak from experience. When your wife leaves you for another man, the best revenge against both parties involved is to let him have her. I wanted very badly to hurt the two of them. I wanted them to drown in misery. As it turns out, they did it to each other within the year, and I married a woman who I've now been with for almost 10 years. Ultimate revenge. Living your life and being happy. When I was a freshman in college, my large Hawaiian friend tapped me. Needless to say, it hurt badly. I told him I was going to get him back when he least expected it, just to see him flinch if I got close. The next weekend we were drinking Bacardi 151 and I experimented to see if it would light on fire. It did. My freak reaction caused me to spill it onto my hand, setting it ablaze. I realized I only had moments before I felt the pain. I leapt across the room and tapped him. My hand went out because all the fire and liquor shifted to his pants. He then proceeded to gorilla bongo open palm slap his genitals over and over again. TL. Doctor, whoever said revenge was a dish best served cold never had it flambé. What did the guy do? In vague terms? The worst thing I can imagine is that he stole or killed a loved one. Slept with my wife for over a year. I caught them. Divorce is pending. When I was 3 mths pregnant with, I walked in on my then best friend and my husband on my couch while I'd been sleeping in the next room. Needless to say, drama ensued. Divorce. They moved in together. Act. A few months later I was driving by her ex-boyfriend's house. I lived on the same street and was on my way home. I'm not a crazy stalker, and saw the two of them making out on his front deck. I honked my horn on the way by so she knew I saw her. And then I never mentioned it again. I have just spent the last 3 years with all of us getting along pretty well. With a baby in the middle of all the drama, there was no option to just avoid them, and my secret evil joy at watching her squirm every time I see them. And I get the joy of knowing that my cheating as of an ex got stuck with one of his own. Best revenge I could have hoped for. I feel like if you need a middle ground, why not contact him for coffee or via email and lay it out what you know that could destroy him. The catch is to never tell another soul and let him induct himself with the knowledge that someone else knows. You walk away from them and never talk to them ever again, assuming no kids are involved. I think this is good advice. You don't need to destroy anything yet. Just let him know that you know. It will allow your ego to be satisfied by putting him in his place. And then you also get to see how he reacts. If he is a total ass, then you can still choose to go for it. If he shows some regret, then you know he is not a complete waste and may yet redeem himself. Either way, you get to stop feeling like a victim. I didn't have to take revenge. The guy she left me for soon after lost his job. He dropped out of high school in 9th grade and has no get, and now she and him live in his parents' basement. Very doubtful he will be able to find jack shit. I got a huge promotion and she didn't read the divorce papers before signing them. That included her not being able to ever get a dime from me. Karma is better than revenge a lot of the time. 3rd grade. This guy like 2 years older shot me in the eye with a rubber band gum. Needless to say, I stole 40 smackers from him. Bought the sweetest Legos ever. I was picked on quite a bit through school, and now when the people who picked on me recognize me and try to say hi, I don't know why they think I would want to talk to them at all. I just ask if I know them. The expression on their face fills me with such joy every time. I'm all for forgiving and forgetting. But don't expect me to just be like good friends just because you're saying hi to me after making my life a living hell for so long. About 7 years ago I stole my friend's girlfriend. His words. He blamed me for ruining his life. She ended up dumping me in June last year. Reasons kept changing at the end. And she led me on with what started as a need space. Then needo napped. Then break up. My policy as the best revenge is to live well. It just so happens she's a little insecure and frankly a bit nutty and was always jealous of my success. I got a better job. Dated a bunch. Had some fun. She kept the same job but her pay was decreased. And she's dating a guy that's really not all that great now. She disowned most of our mutual friends over the past month because she feels they abandoned her and took my side by hanging out with me and my new GF. Which would be understandable had she not been bringing her new guy to gatherings for months. The final revenge will be when I get back the car I sold for the money to get her an engagement ring, which I never bought. I've been very mature about this whole situation. But I plan an active public campaign of gloating once I get it back. I forget who said this, but consider it. Revenge hatred is like letting someone live rent-free in your head. Why don't you just let it all out on the divorce process? When I was 8 years old, a girl at school tried to lasso me with a skipping rope. I broke free and broke her skipping rope in the process. She proceeded to tell on me to the teacher. Probably because she was a good girl and I was a little shit. Evidence of this fact in a moment. The teacher believed her and ordered me to either fix the girl's skipping rope or buy her a new one. Sensing an opportunity, I said I'd fix the girl's skipping rope. It was one of those hollow rubber ones, a bit like a hose with rubber handles at either end. The fix was to stuff the hose back into the handle, fixing it in place with crazy glue. I however used inferior wood glue so that the handle would break off again. I know what you're thinking. A subpar repair job does not make a very good revenge story. Well, she soon figured out what 8-year-old boy she shouldn't duck with when the handle broke off and the grape juice I had filled the entire length of skipping rope up with came flying out all over her and her silly little skipping friends. Now I doubt seriously that this is what your therapist wants you to hear. But I would get revenge. Especially if what he did is preventing you from moving on. If most of Reddit ends up being right about God's existence, then this man will never see justice. I personally go insane when people get away with something they should be punished for. People who say that you need to just live and be happy are people who fear retribution from those they have wronged. These are the same people who will downvote me into oblivion. TLDR, you can't get ahead until you get even. Think of how horrible it was for you when you found out what was going on. And how awful a person you must have thought he was. Be glad that you didn't have it in you to inflict that pain on someone else the way he did. Not my story, but my cousin's. She's always been very stubborn and loves to get back at people. She discovered, through her mom, that her grandmother called her vindictive. To get back at her, she had it tattooed across her back. Needless to say, I don't speak with this cousin anymore. Kind Veric. Hahaha. My office chair broke, so I requisitioned a new one at work. It was about $400 and ergonomic. Same chair the general manager has. The guy who ordered the chair for me decided I didn't need an expensive office chair and just got me the same chair that had been hurting my back for 2 years. He said it wasn't in the budget. A year or so later, this same guy decides he needs a laptop to do his job instead of a desktop. So I ordered him a Dell Mini Netbook. I told him the MacBook Pro he wanted wasn't in the budget.